Hi, everybody. Welcome. We are live with Our Community Cares. I'm Daniella Levine Cava, County Commissioner, District 8, and I'm really thrilled to be back with you on our Monday, Wednesday, Friday Public Affairs series. Today, I'm delighted that we're joined by Wendi Walsh. She's the president of Unite Here, Local 355. Wendy's been very much in the news, unfortunately, because her members work at airports, many airports, and of course airports and airlines are not doing very well in the coronavirus era. So we're going to be talking with Wendi to find out what's going on and what we can do to support workers, and particularly the airport workers. So I don't see you, Wendi, so I don't know if others can see you. Maybe if you say hi, then it goes back to you.
Okay.
There she is. Hi, just say hi.
Hi.
There you go. I just want to remind the viewers that we're going to be posting this on Facebook after the show. And so we want to encourage you to share it with others, post it, make sure that people benefit from the wise words we're going to hear from Wendi. And also our previous shows, we had Rick Beasley from Career Source South Florida, and Martha Baker from SEIU representing the workers at Jackson. So two great shows, and now we're going to be talking with Wendi. We are going to have a half an hour. Towards the end, we'll open it up for questions, which you should write in the chat box. So we're not going to take live questions, so please write your questions in the chat box, and we'll do our very best to have all of your questions answered. So again, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Today's conversation is particular to Miami-Dade County's Unite Here workforce, and we know that they have been hit extremely hard due to this coronavirus crisis, and Wendi will tell us all about it. So why don't you start, Wendi, by just telling us how many local employees are represented by Unite Here and what types of jobs do they hold?
Sure. First, Commissioner, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. Unite Here represents workers in hospitality. So hotel workers, workers in the casinos with the pari-mutuels, stadium workers like the Marlins Stadium, and airport concession workers, and then the airline catering workers like in Sky Chefs and Gate Gourmet that put the food on the planes.
So if I could just interrupt for a second, excuse me, not just airport, but all of those jobs that are so very much affected by the downturn in the economy to the impact on tourism.
Yeah, especially here. I mean, we represent workers nationally, about 300,000. Obviously, the economy of Miami-Dade is driven very much by tourism. We represent 32,000 workers in the state. About 7,000 here. And I mean, at this moment, about 90% of those workers are laid off. They've been laid off over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the casinos have completely closed. The hotels have completely closed. We're down to about 30% of our workers in the airport, and we're down a lot in airline catering. So virtually everyone has been laid off at this point.
All right. So you're saying 90% are out of work. So of the 7,000, that does not leave very many working. So I was going to ask you, how are the employees coping? Well, first of all, most of them are not working. But could you tell us a little bit about how are they coping, both those who are still working and those who are not?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's, mass anxiety amongst our workers. Look, these are our members are almost all immigrants, probably 95% immigrant. And they are a very resilient group of people. They've been through many struggles, challenges in their lives. This is hardly the first of many struggle of the struggles they've had. But, to have everyone go through the struggle all at once, and to have the economic anxiety that they have, obviously anxiety about their health, and then they're isolated right now as they're going through this. And so, I would say that the community really has come together in a lot of ways, and the workers are supporting each other. But it's a very anxious time. Many of these workers don't have health insurance to begin with. Those that did will lose that health insurance at the end of the month. They have no cushion to fall back on, because these are hourly workers who make somewhere between $10 and $15 an hour. And so it's a very scary time. And, they're obviously looking around to figure out how they're going to make ends meet at this point.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What are they telling you? What are some examples of things that are happening?
Yeah, sure. So we've, it's everything from, workers at Marlins Stadium who were anticipating their baseball season starting now, and waiting to hear from the Marlins team about what they're going to do with the $1 million that they're committing to. They pledged to the workers, and we commend them for doing that. Really good for them that they're coming through with some money. But other hotel workers, casinos, airports, they've been put out, and they're waiting to hear if their employers are going to come forward with any kind of severance. But I would say, for the most part, they're waiting for the government to come through. So we have workers who have been, hundreds of workers have been calling us every single day. We have a backlog of calls right now, who are asking for food assistance, for assistance with their rent, just moral support, frankly, asking when they're going to go back to work. What does the virus mean? They're really looking for information anywhere they can get it. And so they're calling the union. And frankly, we have a lot of workers who are not our members, just hospitality workers from hotels up and down throughout Miami, who are calling us because we have been out front. And so they've been calling our office, reaching out to us in social media for help as well.
And what about the union itself? What's the impact on your office?
Well, I mean, obviously this is my house, our actual office is closed. So we're going through the same thing, an organization that's accustomed to meeting constantly and visiting workers in homes. So that's all changed. The union is run 100% on our members' dues. And so we've gone from having an income to having essentially zero income. And so we're facing the same thing that the employers are. I mean, frankly, well, we haven't talked to our staff yet. So we're facing a tremendous challenge.
Yes, you're under tremendous strain. While you're trying to meet the needs of the employees, you have to focus on this too. So you've put out an urgent message regarding assistance for the employees. What did the message say, and how could people help?
Sure. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I mean, look, this is a health crisis, and really it needs to stay, we need to stay focused on people's health in the country and here in Miami-Dade, and we need to make sure everyone is safe, and we are doing everything we can to eradicate the virus. The last thing we need is also an economic crisis, a homelessness crisis, a food crisis. And so these are very precarious workers. The desperation is really intense. And so we are asking for financial assistance at this point, from every and any corner we can find it. And so, we have been lobbying hard in Congress around this relief bill to make sure that money actually goes directly to the workers. The same with the state. We need the state to improve and completely overhaul the unemployment process, for both what it takes to apply for unemployment, but the level of benefit, $275 a week, is not going to make ends meet here in Miami-Dade County, as we all know. The wait time, the website is crashing. That process needs to get overhauled, and so we're talking to the governor's office about that. And then here at the county and city level as well, these workers need to make their way through this and to be able to go back to work. And so we're asking for financial assistance so that we can facilitate these workers actually getting through the process of applying for unemployment and other aid that they need, and to put some immediate money into the hands of the most vulnerable and the hardship cases that we have.
Right. So as far as the federal relief, where are we with that, and what are you hoping will come out of it?
Yeah, so I should say, obviously at this point, this crisis has not just hit our industry, and we recognize that, and that there's all kinds of workers who are in danger at this point. There is an aid package, $250 billion that the tourism industry has asked for between the airlines and the hoteliers and the attractions. Some of whom are largely insured for the losses that they're going to have. And so what we're saying is there has to be significant money that goes into the hands of every person, every family throughout the country to get through this. And that money has to go directly to the workers and not through the companies. So we've been lobbying for that. And we'll see. I mean, this is not a time for them to play politics, but we know how it goes.
Right. Okay. And at the state level, you're emphasizing the unemployment benefits, which the system is very, actually the stingiest in the country, as I understand it, and a lot of roadblocks to participation. So we're hoping that the governor will make some executive changes to the program, right, to open it up to more people. Great. What about volunteers? Can volunteers assist you, and what would they do?
100%. We cannot handle the volume of calls that we're getting. And so we literally are, to apply for unemployment, you can't do it on your phone. You can't do it on a tablet. You have to have access to a computer. You have to be computer literate enough to do it. And our work, and, for most of our workers, English is not their first language. And so they're really going to struggle. So we are setting up train the trainers to walk people through how to do it virtually. We will set you up with that. And so if we have people who are willing to get trained by us on how to help workers through the process of applying, we will train you and give you lists of people and set appointments for you to help people through the process.
Excellent. So I've had a couple of chat comments come in while you've been talking. One is from Nick, who says that he was able to apply using a smartphone. So that might be possible, but we know that people will still often need assistance. So it's great if people want to volunteer. And what should people do if they want to help to volunteer?
Yeah, absolutely. So if people can reach out to us at unitehere355.org, or you can follow us on social media and message us there on Facebook. Same to Unite Here Local 355, and we will respond immediately and get you hooked up.
Excellent. And also the question was asked about a special session. Do we know whether there's any progress being made towards having a special legislative session to try to deal with some of these issues?
We have not heard that, but the governor has executive powers right now. He has made some changes to the unemployment. He can make others. And so really we've been very focused on Governor DeSantis, who has shown to be sympathetic to the crisis that we have. But the changes that have been made so far are a drop in the bucket of what needs to happen.
Yeah. And what about companies that are stepping up? You mentioned Marlins and that they've created a fund, although we don't know exactly how it will flow. Have other employers stepped up, and what kinds of things have they done?
Yeah, we do know the Marlins are going to give money to hourly workers, which we feel really good about. So at this point, I think we are really happy with what they've done. Some of the employers, like our casino employers, have pledged to continue to pay the workers for at least 2 weeks during this time and to extend their health benefits. Other employers, some of the concessionaires at the airport, have agreed to extend health benefits for a couple of months. That's one of our big concerns, is people falling off of health benefits in the midst of a pandemic. But most of the employers have not agreed to any kind of severance at all. And so the workers' last paycheck is the last money that they have coming in.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. What about the county government? What could I, as a commissioner, or the mayor, what could we be doing?
Yeah, so I would say two things. One is we are running we have a hospitality training center located in Overtown in Miami that is in part funded through the CRA and also funded by hospitality employers. And we are at this point asking both the city of Miami and Miami Beach, as well as the county, to contribute to a relief and recovery fund so that we can be giving direct assistance to these workers. I mean, there's kind of no other way for us to do it. The other is, I think, you raised the airport to at the beginning. There are companies like the concessionaires at the county who inevitably are going to come for financial relief. They're going to ask to be relieved of some portion of their rent at the airport. It's initiatives like that the commissioners really need to step in and say, we're only going to provide rent relief if money is going directly to the workers, and we need that in writing with accountability, so that this is not just money into the hands of the companies. We've seen these relief efforts before under hurricane conditions, et cetera, where the companies get rent relief, but nothing flows to the workers. And we absolutely will vehemently oppose that.
Right. Right. Similar to what you're lobbying for in Washington.
Absolutely.
That any relief not just go to the owners or the corporations, but that it actually flow to those who are the ones barely getting by, right? So excellent. So please, if you haven't posted your question, I think I've gotten to the comments that have already come in. Please be sure to do that now. We're going to open up to questions in just a minute. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with your employees during this difficult time. And also you mentioned that you're helping other employees, other hospitality workers who might not have someplace else to turn. So please go ahead, tell us what you're doing to help them out.
Yeah, so we've said that any hospitality worker in South Florida can reach out to us, whether they can call our offices. I can give that number, or they can reach us through social media or through our website, and we will do an intake to find out what kind of assistance they need. And we will either try to direct them to resources with other organizations, whether it's the food banks or housing assistance, whatever it is that they're looking for. We will help them through that process, and we will help them actually fill out the applications that are needed. At the moment, we have to do that virtually, obviously, but we're hoping that sometime soon we could reopen our training center so that we can do it in person. I'll tell you the truth, some of it is just moral support as well, and just information, because it is really a scary time for people to be without money, but also to be socially isolated. And we're really concerned about their mental health and the consequences of that. And so we also want to get them the support they need.
Excellent points. And I want everyone to know that through my office, Commission District 8, we have been posting a lot of resources, and we put out something about staying with senior shopping hours and various resources. And we'll be putting out a more comprehensive list this week. So if people are not following us on social media, please do, because we really want to make sure everybody has access to information, both how they can access help if they need it and how they can offer help. So could you give us an update on how your fund is doing? That comes from Matthew Land. Thank you, Matthew.
Hi, Matthew. Our fund is, well, we have some money from the CRA that had been meant for training of hotel and airport workers on things like culinary and our traditional training. But given that there are going to be no surplus of jobs probably until this time next year, we think this will have a very long-term impact. We're converting that money to this relief and recovery project. Then, we have, a number of small donors. So we've raised small numbers at this point, like $25,000 through that. We actually, we need big donors. We need the county and the cities to come through, and some other foundations that we've applied to. I know the city of Miami Beach will take a vote on Wednesday morning about giving us some help, and then we're going to ask other cities to match, but
Good.
hoping they pass it so that we can get some real funds in there.
Great. And apart from donating, which everybody could, large or small, what else could they do to promote the fund?
Yeah, so you can share it on social media.
Wait, can't hear you. Something happened. Try now. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That they can share our information on social media, the Unite Here Local 355 Facebook and Twitter. And if anyone has any suggestions for where we could raise funds, call me anytime. And then I think that we also, like I said, we would welcome volunteers or other resources that aren't just cash, that we could direct our workers to get help from other organizations. That would be great. Excellent,
excellent. I also want to welcome Johnny Farias, our councilman, who's on the phone. He's a community councilman in South Dade. Welcome, Johnny. So Nick is asking the question, I don't know, I don't want to be the one necessarily to answer it, that if he's applied for unemployment, but if he gets a job, would he still be eligible for the period of time he was unemployed to get those unemployment benefits?
Yeah, he should be able to, during the time that he's laid off and between when he was laid off and is reemployed, it gets a check. If he falls within the guidelines by the state, then he should be eligible. But again, because the benefit level is so small, you know, if you're making $275 a week or more, you're not going to be getting those benefits.
Excellent. Okay. Okay, so we have an idea that's been floated to use hotels and motels as isolation shelters and use existing hotel staff to staff those isolation shelters. Is this something that the union is working on with local government, and what would your thoughts be about that?
We've talked to some of our hoteliers today about it. Look, we have workers, like our Sky Chef Gay Gourmet workers, for example, are working in these industrial kitchens today, still shoulder to shoulder, every single one of them. And we understand the dangers of doing that. Potentially those kitchens are going to get turned into distribution centers for food for seniors. And the same with the hotels, if they get converted. I do think we are particularly well positioned to put hotel workers back to work, because we do have a specialized health and safety training up to the CDC standards, that we can make sure that workers in the union hotels are protected and are given the training that they need to be able to do that. I would frankly be more concerned about the non-union hotels where there's no one advocating on behalf of those workers. But you know, these low-wage workers that are generally overseen and overlooked are suddenly on the front lines of actually keeping the country working right now and handling this pandemic. And so, you know, we have to make sure that they have the equipment that they need and the training that they need. But our workers, they're ready to work.
Wow. So there are going to be opportunities. So people need to hold on because there will be ways of being redeployed, and you're going to be very active in making sure that that happens to the folks in the hospitality industry that you work with.
Yeah, but I think, you know, today we were like, if the National Guard is coming to South Florida, which, you know, everyone's talking about, I'm like, bring them to our union hotels, let them stay, our workers will work.
There you go. Yes, and I've heard quite a lot of that, hotels being utilized for first responders, emergency workers, as well as for people that need to be in isolation or the homeless. I mean, there's any number of people that will need to occupy those buildings, some of them as field hospitals. So there's going to be endless opportunities. So we don't wish any of this to happen, but now that it's happened, we're going to need people to take care of them. And as you say, your workers are the front line, and we need to be sure that we're protecting them, that they are trained and that they have the protective devices, equipment that they need, and so on. We had Rick Beasley, Career Source South Florida on the line, and he told us that there's training money available. So if you haven't connected with him, reach back, and maybe some more of your training money can be redeployed to help your workers directly while you get some of that that training money. So there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Just as a
we talked to Rick briefly, and I really appreciate what they're doing, because I think that they understand that there's a very quick shift that needs to happen with training money to address this emergency. And thank God for Career Source being out there to be helpful.
Great. And just as a reminder, our office is going to be putting out a little newsletter update with the different community services available and ways that people can help. So we'll be sure to include your fund in there, and your volunteer opportunity in that alert. And of course, all the resources that we've identified to help people, especially people who've been on the front line.
Yeah.
Great. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I would just say that anyone who is a part of this right now, I mean, we're in uncharted territory. And if folks have ideas, someone today said maybe we could do like an adopt a worker program, where someone takes care of one worker, one family. We are so open to working in coordination with other organizations, to learning and how to leverage resources that we're not aware of. So we are not at all thinking that we know the way through this. And so we are very open to work with anyone in any way.
Yeah, so I want to say, Wendi, that I've had the great pleasure to work with you the 5.5 years I've been on the commission, and you've always demonstrated yourself to be resourceful, creative, thoughtful, really a great collaborator. And I think the kinds of things you're talking about in today's program really underscore that. So I know that you're going to continue to fight and advocate for the needs of the workforce, and you'll do a great job. And we're in uncharted territories here, and I know that you'll continue to fight. So thank you so very much for being on the front line with us. Our community does care. We are delighted that you were part of our series. We had Rick Beasley, Career Source, Martha Baker from SEIU. Today, delighted to have Wendi Walsh. And then Wednesday, we're delighted to have Freddie Ramirez, the director of Miami-Dade County Police Department. And of course, police are on the front line as well during this crisis. And fortunately, things have been going very smoothly. And there are a lot of orders coming out from our mayor, directives, and we're going to hear from our director Ramirez how that's going. And then on Friday, we're going to have our agriculture commissioner, Nikki Freed, and she's going to talk about some of the regulatory issues that are relevant during this crisis, as well as some of the food security issues. So we're delighted to bring this programming. Please be sure to follow up with Wendi and to repost for the benefit of other viewers. And Wendi, if you could just one more time give us your contact information.
Yes, so anyone could call me directly at 305-934-7373. You also could find out what we're doing on Facebook at Unite Here Local 355, and at our website, unitehere355.org.
Great. So virtual hugs to you, Wendi. We know that social isolation does not mean really social isolation. It really means physical isolation, and we need to be together. So I'm with you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much for doing this, Commissioner.
All right.